Callan had never been lucky with money. He lived in a small apartment above a noisy cafe, worked long hours at a tech repair shop, and rarely traveled beyond the edge of the city. But on that rainy Thursday morning, everything changed. He sat at his tiny kitchen table, sipping weak coffee and scrolling through his old laptop. A pop-up ad appeared. Bold, blinking letters read, "One-way flight. Special charter. Only 99 credits." He laughed. "Must be a scam," he muttered, but curiosity got the better of him. He clicked the link. To his surprise, the website looked real. The destination was strange. XTO 901 Intercontinental Charter, Gate 77. Terminal Z. No city name. No airline. No return trip. Callan shook his head, but something about the mystery made his heart beat faster. His job was boring. His life felt small. Maybe he needed to do something crazy, something different. He pressed buy ticket. His card worked. He got a digital boarding pass with a barcode. It felt real. 2 days later, Callan arrived at the airport with a small backpack, wearing jeans and a faded jacket. He showed the boarding pass to a guard who didn't ask questions. Instead, the man silently pointed toward a hallway labeled Terminal Z. The hallway was empty. No shops, no noise, no other passengers. He walked until he found Gate 77. It looked like any other gate. Rows of chairs, large windows, and a desk where a woman in a gray uniform stood quietly. She checked his pass without speaking and waved him through a narrow tunnel. He stepped into the aircraft and stopped. Inside the plane, the lights were dim and soft. The seats were much larger than normal. And the passengers, they were all women, all tall, all elegant, all completely silent. They wore long robes in rich, smooth fabrics, green, silver, red. Some had glowing patterns on their clothing. Their skin tones were soft shades of blue, gold, or silver. Their eyes, large and deep, watched him as he walked down the aisle. He felt their gazes like warm pressure on his back. He tried not to stare, but it was impossible not to notice. They didn't look human. Callan found his seat -43B. It was beside a woman with pale blue skin and short silver hair. Her ears were small but pointed, like something from a fantasy book. She nodded slightly as he sat down. "Hello," Callan said, unsure what else to do. She looked at him. "Human," she said softly. Her voice was smooth, almost like music. Then she looked away. Callan blinked. Did she say human? He looked around again. No one was speaking. No one was using a phone. And he couldn't find any flight attendants. He leaned back in his chair, trying to calm himself. "Okay, maybe it's just some themed flight," he whispered to himself. "Like a space cosplay thing." The seatbelt light came on. The engine hummed, but the sound was deeper, smoother than any plane he'd ever heard. Outside the window, the runway looked normal, and the sky was cloudy. The plane lifted smoothly into the air. Callan waited for an announcement. None came. Then he noticed something even stranger. The sky was no longer blue. It shifted from gray to silver, then to deep purple. Stars appeared. Bright. Close. Too close. "This isn't Earth's sky," Callan said under his breath. He turned to the woman beside him. "Where are we going?" She looked at him again, her eyes now glowing faintly. "You don't know." He shook his head, his mouth dry. She tilted her head, almost like she was studying him. "You are the only human here. The flight was not meant for your kind, but you carry a valid pass." Strange. Callan swallowed. Wait. What do you mean, not for my kind? Are you saying?" She interrupted gently. "Yes. All the others are alien." He stared at her. The silence in the cabin suddenly felt heavy. "You may want to rest," she added softly. "It's a long journey. And soon, things will change." She turned away and closed her eyes. Callan stared out the window again. The stars moved in impossible patterns. The sky outside pulsed gently, like a living thing. He sank into his seat, heart racing. This wasn't a plane. It wasn't even a spaceship, he understood, and he was the only human on board. Callan couldn't sleep. Even though the seat was soft and the cabin was quiet, his mind was racing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the glowing sky, the elegant alien women, and that strange silver-haired passenger beside him. What had he done? He leaned forward and looked around the cabin. The women were calm, still in their seats. Some had their eyes closed. Others were reading from floating screens that didn't look like any tablet he'd seen before. Not one of them seemed surprised or confused. Only he felt like he had walked into a dream. He whispered to himself, "Is this a dream?" "No," the voice replied softly. Callan jumped. It was the blue-skinned woman next to him. Her eyes were open again, watching him with quiet curiosity. "This is real," she said. "You are awake." Callan rubbed his face. "Okay then, can you tell me what this is? What kind of plane is this? And where are we going?" She gave a small nod, as if deciding something. "My name is Thalira. I am from Velinari, a distant planet in the Mirath system." Callan blinked. "You're not from Earth." Thalira gave a light smile. "No, none of us are." "But how?" he asked. "Why is this flight even at a human airport? How did I get on this ship?" She looked at him seriously. "There are few doors between worlds. Hidden, but not locked. Your ticket, though it seemed cheap, was not random. The system selected you." "Selected me?" Callan asked. "Why?" "That is what we are all wondering," she replied. "This flight is for highborn travelers. Daughters of great houses, scientists, explorers. We were not expecting a human. Yet here you are." Callan felt a chill. "You're telling me this whole plane—" "Sorry, this ship is full of alien women." Thalira nodded. "Yes, and you are the only male on board." He leaned back slowly, trying to stay calm. "Okay, great. I accidentally joined a spaceship full of alien nobility." "Perfect." Thalira tilted her head. "You do not seem dangerous." "I'm not," he said quickly. "I fix phones and laptops. That's it." She studied him for a moment. "Still, you passed the scan. The ship accepted you. That is rare." Callan's mind raced. He looked outside again. The sky was even stranger now. No stars, just smooth waves of glowing mist. The ship moved silently, like it was gliding through water, not space. "Where are we going?" he asked again. "To the Velinari transport hub," she answered. "It's a place between systems, a stop before we continue to our final destinations." "And what happens to me when we get there?" he asked. Thalira didn't answer right away. Then she said, "That depends on what the others decide." Callan didn't like that answer. "And who are these others?" "Some kind of alien council. Some are leaders," she said. "Others are curious. You may be questioned, observed." Callan frowned. "Like a science experiment?" "No," she said quickly. "Like a mystery. You are unexpected. That makes you interesting." He wasn't sure if that was better or worse. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking slightly. "I just wanted a cheap flight," he whispered. Thalira's voice softened. "Do not fear. No harm will come to you. We are not at war with your people. In truth, this is the first time many of us have seen a human in person." Callan's eyes widened. "You've heard of humans before." "Yes," she replied. "Your planet is watched. Quietly. Some see you as primitive. Others see potential." "Well, that's comforting," he muttered. Thalira smiled again. "You have humor. That is good." He glanced at her. "And what about you? What do you think of humans?" She was silent for a moment. "I think you are unpredictable. But sometimes unpredictability brings change, and change is needed." Before he could reply, Soft music filled the cabin. A gentle voice spoke in a language Callan didn't understand, but somehow his seat screen lit up and showed translated words. Approaching the Velinary transit station. Please remain seated and prepare for docking. Callan stared at the screen. Docking. Falira nodded. We'll arrive soon. His heart thudded in his chest. This was real. He wasn't going home anytime soon. What happens if I don't want to go? He asked quietly. Falira looked at him with calm eyes. Then you must explain yourself. But remember, this ship is not from your world. Your rules may not apply. Callan sat back and closed his eyes for a moment. He had no plan, no idea what to say. All he knew was this. He was very far from home and surrounded by powerful beings who were watching his every move. And somehow his journey had only just begun. The ship slowed down. Callan could feel it, not in the usual way, like a plane landing, but more like the air around him became heavier, thicker. The stars outside the window had vanished. Now there was a huge glowing ring ahead, floating in the dark. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a moon. It was a station, massive and silent, with blue lights running along its surface like rivers of light. Ships much larger than theirs moved in and out of its glowing gates. Callan leaned forward in his seat. What is that place? Falira followed his gaze. That is the Velinary transport hub. It connects our home worlds. No human has ever stepped inside. Callan's stomach tightened. Well, I guess I'm about to be the first. You may be, she said gently. Unless they send you back. He sat back, honestly. That might be for the best. Falira looked at him for a long moment. Is that truly what you want? Callan opened his mouth to answer, but paused. Was it what he wanted? Going home sounded safe, comfortable, familiar, but wasn't he tired of being safe? Wasn't that why he bought that strange ticket in the first place? Before he could say anything, the ship made a soft humming sound, and the cabin lights changed to a soft gold. Another voice spoke, this time clearly translated. Prepare for arrival. All passengers, remain seated. External environment adjustment beginning. The ship passed through a glowing field. Callan's ears popped, but there was no pressure. Just a strange warmth that passed through his skin like a gentle wave. His screen displayed. Atmosphere adjusted. Breathable for human species. That's nice, he said, trying to stay calm. The ship docked with a soft click, like magnets touching. The cabin doors opened, not to an airport, but to a long tunnel of clear glass. Through the sides, Callan could see glowing trees, floating platforms, and tall figures moving about in robes and suits that shimmered like stars. It was like stepping into a dream. One by one, the alien women rose from their seats and walked toward the tunnel. Callan stayed seated until Falira stood. You must come now, she said. He nodded slowly and stood up. His legs felt shaky. As they walked side by side, he whispered, What happens now? We report to the Council of Arrival, she said. They oversee all incoming travelers. You'll be introduced. Introduced, he repeated. To who? Falira didn't answer, but the look in her eyes was calm. Just speak with honesty, and do not try to lie. They'll know. They entered a wide hall made of crystal-like walls and silver floors. Shapes floated in the air, symbols, maybe, but they moved slowly and gave off light. Waiting at the far end were 3 figures. One wore white and gold, the second was in green and silver, and the third wore deep blue robes with a tall crown. Callan felt small. Falira stepped forward and bowed. Callan did the same, though awkwardly. The one in blue spoke first. Human. State your name. He cleared his throat. Callan Rusk. From Earth. The other 2 whispered to each other. Then the one in white asked, Do you know how you arrived on this ship? I bought a ticket, Callan said. Online. It was really cheap. They stared at him in silence. Then the one in green said, "This route is not shown to human systems. Yet you found it. Curious." "I didn't do anything special," Callan replied. "I just clicked the link." "There are no accidents in our travel codes," the blue-robed figure said. "You were allowed entry by our system. That makes you unique." Callan looked around. "So what happens now? Am I in trouble?" The three aliens looked at each other. Then the one in white spoke again. "You are not under arrest. You are under observation. We wish to understand you." Falira added, "You showed no fear. You followed the signs. That matters to them." "But I was afraid," Callan said honestly. "Still am." The one in green actually smiled. "Good. That makes you real." Then something unexpected happened. The one in blue asked, "Would you accept temporary guest status? You may remain in the station for 7 cycles. You will be housed, fed, and studied with full safety. After that, you may choose to return or stay longer." Callan stared at them. "So, like a visitor's pass?" "Yes," said the figure in white. "But remember, you are the only human here. All eyes will be on you." He looked at Thalira. She gave a small nod, her expression unreadable. "I'll stay," Callan said quietly. "At least for now." The 3 aliens nodded together. "So be it," they said in unison. As they left the chamber, Thalira led him toward a floating platform. "Congratulations," she said. "You've just become the first human guest of the villainary." Callan laughed nervously. "That sounds like a big deal." "It is," she replied. He looked back at the glowing hall and the endless sky beyond. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing for sure. This was no longer just a cheap flight. Callan stood on the floating platform, holding onto the smooth railing as it glided across the air like a silent boat. Around him, the Velinary transport station sparkled like a city in the stars, towers of light, floating gardens, and strange creatures flying from place to place. None of it looked real, but it was. Thalira stood beside him, calm as always. "Where are we going now?" Callan asked. "To your guest quarters," she said. "It's a private suite, with all you'll need." "Do all visitors get that?" he asked. "There are no other visitors like you," she replied simply. Callan looked around. Alien women walked on suspended walkways above and below, wearing clothes of flowing silk and metal. Some glanced at him with curiosity. Others stared openly. One group even paused to whisper among themselves. He felt like a museum piece. "I don't think I'll get used to this," he muttered. "You don't need to," Thalira said. "You only need to be yourself." The platform stopped near a tall, narrow tower made of glass and stone. Inside was a small but beautiful suite. The walls changed colors based on mood. A soft bed shaped like a flower opened when he stepped near it. A table in the center held bowls of bright fruit-like food that shimmered slightly. "It's amazing," he said, walking around slowly. Thalira touched a crystal on the wall. "This will summon assistance if you need it. I will return tomorrow." "You're leaving?" he asked, surprised. "I have duties," she replied, "but you will not be alone." As if on cue, the door opened, and another woman stepped in. She had golden skin with short, curled dark hair, and her eyes glowed like amber. She wore a robe of dark blue with silver lines running through it. "This is Nirei," Thalira said. "She is your assistant while you are here." Nirei gave a polite nod. "I am honored to meet you, Callan." He smiled nervously. "Hi." Likewise." Thalira gave one last glance before she left. "Rest well. You will have many visitors soon." The next day, Callan sat on the strange floating couch as Nirei served him warm, sweet-tasting tea. "It's called Sarah nectar," she explained. "Very common here. It calms nerves." Callan took a sip. "I think I need a gallon of it." Nirei chuckled. "Most beings feel the same when they first arrive." A soft chime rang at the door. Nirei opened it, and 3 alien women entered. One wore green armor, another had glowing patterns on her forehead, and the third floated an inch above the floor. "Are those visitors?" Kalen asked. "Yes," Nere replied. "Scientists. They want to study you." "Wait, study me?" "Not in a bad way," she said quickly. "They only want to ask questions, learn how you think, how your kind sees the universe." Callan took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll try." The next hour passed like an interview. They asked about his job, Earth's technology, how humans build homes, and even what food he liked. Callan answered honestly, trying not to sound foolish. They listened carefully, nodding and writing notes on floating scrolls. When they left, more arrived. Artists, musicians, and one writer who asked if he could write a story about the lone human among stars. That evening, Callan sat on the balcony of his suite, watching the twin suns set behind glowing mountains in the distance. Nere sat nearby, sketching something in a glowing notebook. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he said, "just overwhelmed." "That's normal," she said. "You are the first human we've spoken to in person. You represent a whole world to us." Callan looked down. "That's a lot of pressure." She smiled gently. "You're doing well." Just then, the door opened and Thalira returned. She looked more serious than before. "There is news," she said. "The council wishes to extend your stay." Callan blinked. "Already? I just got here." "They believe you may be more than a visitor," Thalira said. "You may be a bridge." "A bridge?" he asked. "Between our world and yours." Callan sat quietly, thinking about her words. He was no leader, no hero, just a guy who bought a cheap ticket. But maybe that was why he was here. Maybe someone completely ordinary was exactly what the stars needed. He looked up at Thalira and Nere. "Okay, I'll stay a little longer." They both smiled. And far above them, in the glowing chambers of the station, the council marked the beginning of something new. The next few days in the Velinary station passed in a blur. Callan spent his time answering questions, eating strange but delicious foods, and exploring the sparkling city inside the transport hub. Though he'd been told not to leave his suite, he was allowed to walk the halls, talk to visitors, and even meet other curious beings who came to ask him about Earth. But the more he learned about this alien society, the more he realized something wasn't right. Thalira had told him he was special, that his presence here had caught the attention of the council. But there were others who didn't seem so welcoming. One evening, Callan overheard a conversation in a hallway between 2 alien women who hadn't seen him approach. "He shouldn't be here," one whispered, her voice low. "This human, he's too unpredictable. Let him stay. He's an experiment," the other replied. "But don't be fooled. Humans are dangerous." Dangerous. Callan had stepped forward, pretending he hadn't heard anything. The women turned, their glowing eyes studying him closely. "Forgive us," one of them said. "We didn't mean to speak of you like that." The other woman gave a nod. "It's just, we've seen how unpredictable your species can be. The council doesn't understand how to handle you." Callan tried to act calm, though his heart raced. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said. "I just wanted a vacation. A normal one." The women exchanged a quick glance. "We're watching," the first one said, before they turned and walked away. Later that evening, as Callan returned to his suite, he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. He hadn't realized just how many eyes were on him. He tried to push the thought aside. This wasn't his world. He didn't need to figure it all out. But the next morning, his thoughts were interrupted. Thalira appeared in his room just after breakfast, her usual calm demeanor replaced with a slight tension in her voice. "Callan," she said, "we need to talk." "About what?" he asked, standing up from the table. "There's been a change in the council's plans." "What do you mean?" "They decided to keep me here longer," Callan asked, unsure whether to be relieved or worried. "No," Thalira replied. It's more serious than that. There are factions within the council who don't want you here at all. They fear your presence will stir up too much attention in the galaxy. He frowned. But I'm just one guy. How can I stir up anything? Thalira looked at him, her expression grave. You are a human, a species that has not been seen or studied in person for centuries. There are those who believe you are not just an accidental visitor. They believe you were brought here for a purpose that may not align with the Velinari. Purpose? Callan repeated. What purpose? I don't know, she said, but I fear that your stay here is no longer a simple curiosity. Some think you may bring conflict to our world. Callan's stomach tightened. Conflict? What do they mean by that? Thalira sighed. There are many who want peace, but some want power. There are those in the galaxy who believe that your kind, humans, could be a weapon if used correctly. If they can control you, they could control your entire species. Callan's thoughts swirled. Control me? What does that mean? It means that your presence here may have attracted unwanted attention. It's possible that someone out there believes that if they can capture you, they can use your species for their own benefit, she said softly. Is that why they were whispering about me? Callan asked. Yes, Thalira said. Some of them want to study you, to learn from you, but others are more dangerous. They would use you. Later that day, Callan was called to the council chamber. This time, Thalira didn't accompany him. As he walked down the long, glowing hallways to the grand chamber, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The air seemed thicker, the silence heavier. When he arrived at the chamber, the three figures from before, those who had spoken to him on the first day, were seated. But there was something different about their energy. They weren't as welcoming this time. The one in blue spoke first. Callan Rusk, human from Earth, she said. We have deliberated on your presence here. There are those who find you a mystery, but we have decided that your stay must be extended. Callan opened his mouth, ready to protest, but she held up her hand. However, you will not be allowed to remain in the station without supervision. There are factions who will not allow a human to live freely among us. You will be kept under guard until the matter is settled. Callan's heart sank. He had no idea what was coming next, but the walls seemed to close in around him. Supervision. Are you saying you're locking me up? No, the one in green replied calmly. You will not be locked away, but you will be observed. And we ask that you follow our instructions carefully. Callan clenched his fists. I'm not a prisoner. I came here by mistake. This was supposed to be a vacation. You are no longer a simple guest, the one in blue said. You are the key to something greater, and if you are not careful, others may use that key for their own means. The days that followed were tense. Callan had never felt more out of place. The station, once so mesmerizing, now felt like a prison. The long, quiet corridors, the ever-watchful eyes, and the strange, unpredictable alien women around him. It was all becoming too much. Thalira continued to visit him, but her demeanor had changed. She no longer spoke to him with the same ease, her eyes filled with concern as she briefed him on the council's latest decisions. He wasn't allowed to roam the station freely anymore. He had to stay in his quarters or be escorted by Nure, his assigned assistant, who was now a constant presence in his life. Do you ever get used to this? Callan asked her one evening as they walked through the floating gardens, the soft glow of the station's lights reflecting off the crystal plants around them. Nire, who had been quiet for a while, gave him a sideways glance. No one gets used to being under observation, but it's necessary. Necessary for what? He asked. You said before that I was some kind of guest. I'm not feeling very welcome anymore. She hesitated, looking away. The truth is, some of the Velinari are scared. They don't know what to make of you, a human, here, so far from Earth. You have abilities they don't understand. Callan frowned. Abilities. They're watching you, watching how you react to things, how you think, how you... She paused, then added, "How you make decisions." "Why?" Callan asked, his voice rising slightly. "I'm just a regular guy. I don't have any powers or magic. I'm no different from anyone else back on Earth." "You don't know that yet," Nere said softly. "You've only been here a short time. But the Velinari believe there's something special about you, something they didn't expect." Callan shook his head, confusion bubbling in his chest. "So what, they think I'm going to save the galaxy or something?" Nere didn't answer right away, but when she spoke, her tone was heavy. "Not exactly. Some think you're a weapon. Others think you could be the key to peace, but not all of them agree." That made him stop. "What do you mean? Not all of them agree?" "Some of the leaders in the council. They don't trust you. They think a human could bring chaos to the Velinari. They're afraid you might disrupt the balance here." Callan's mind raced. "So what do they want from me? What do they expect me to do?" Nere stopped walking and turned to face him. "That's the question, isn't it?" That evening, as Callan sat in his room staring out at the glowing lights of the station, Falira entered quietly. Her usual calmness was now mixed with a visible urgency. "Callan," she began, "the council has made their final decision." He turned to face her. "What decision?" "They've decided to allow you to stay," she said, "but under very specific conditions." Callan's heart pounded in his chest. "Conditions? What kind of conditions?" "You will be under the protection of the Velinari, but you will also be observed more closely. You must choose a side. There are factions here, those who want to use you for their own means, and those who want to keep you safe. You must decide who you trust." "What do you mean, decide who I trust?" he asked, feeling more confused than ever. "Some of the council members want you to stay and help them. Others, more dangerous ones, see you as a tool to be controlled. You must be careful who you align yourself with," Falira explained, her voice heavy with concern. Callan ran a hand through his hair. "I don't understand. I'm just one guy. Why would anyone want to control me?" "There's more to it than you think," Falira said. "You are the first human to visit Velinari in centuries. Your species, it's both a mystery and a potential threat." Callan stepped back. "This doesn't feel like a vacation anymore. It feels like I'm a pawn in someone's game." "I'm sorry," Falira said softly. "I never wanted you to be caught in the middle of this, but I promise you, I will help you make the right choice." He took a deep breath. "And if I don't make a choice?" "Then they will make one for you," she replied. "And you may not like the result." That night, Callan lay awake in his bed, his mind swirling with questions. Was he really special? Or was he just in the wrong place at the wrong time? The idea that he might be a key to something greater, or a weapon to be controlled, filled him with dread. What choice could he make? Which side could he trust? The idea of being used by either faction left him cold. But as he stared at the ceiling, one thought kept coming back to him. He needed to figure this out. No one else was going to help him make this decision. He was alone in this, and whatever path he chose, it would be his own. The next morning, Callan was escorted to a new chamber in the station. Falira was waiting for him, and beside her stood a figure he hadn't seen before, a tall woman with silver hair and glowing blue eyes. She wore dark armor and her presence felt commanding. "This is Varisa, a member of the council," Falira said. "She's here to discuss your future with the Velinari." Varisa stepped forward, her gaze sharp. "Callan Rusk, the human. I've heard much about you. Now it's time to decide. Will you be a part of our future, or will you stand against it?" Callan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. This was it, the choice he had to make. Callan stood in the chamber, facing Varisa. Her presence was intense, commanding, and he could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him. She was one of the highest-ranking members of the Velinari Council, and from the look in her glowing blue eyes, he knew she wasn't here to make small talk. "I've heard a lot about you, human," Varisa said, her voice steady and unyielding. The Velinari are not quick to trust, but you've managed to get their attention. Callan's heart raced. His mind was still trying to process everything Thalira had told him, but now he had to face Varisa. The moment had come. He needed to make a decision, but it wasn't as simple as it seemed. He wasn't a warrior or some great hero. He was just an ordinary man who had stumbled into this strange world by accident. "I didn't ask for any of this," Callan said, his voice slightly shaky. "I bought a ticket because I thought it was cheap. I didn't mean to get involved in whatever this is." Varisa regarded him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke again, her tone a little softer. "No one ever asks for these things, Callan Rusk. But sometimes destiny finds you, whether you want it or not." He took a deep breath. "So what's the decision? What happens now?" Varisa stepped closer, her steps measured and deliberate. "You are the first human many of us have ever seen in person. To some, you are an opportunity. To others, a threat. You are the key to something we don't fully understand, but this key is not without its dangers." Callan felt a shiver run down his spine. "Dangers? What kind of dangers?" "The danger of power," Varisa said. "The danger of being controlled. There are those within the Velinari who would use you for their own advantage. There are others who believe you can help us change the future of the galaxy, for the better." He was silent for a moment, trying to absorb her words. "So I'm a pawn in some sort of galactic chess game?" "No," Varisa replied. "You are more than that. But like any player, you must choose which side you will stand with. If you stand with us, you will be given the power to influence our world. If you stand against us," her voice trailed off, and the unspoken threat hung in the air. Callan swallowed hard. This wasn't the kind of decision he was prepared for. He wasn't a politician or a leader. He was just a guy who worked at a tech shop back home. But now he was standing in the heart of an alien world, surrounded by beings who saw him as something important. "I don't want power," he said finally, his voice firm. "I don't want to control anyone. I just want to go home." Varisa studied him closely, as if weighing his words. Then she nodded slowly. "That is an honest answer, and perhaps the answer that will help you. But understand this, Callan. There are forces at play here that you cannot ignore. If you choose to leave, you will not be able to return. And if you stay, you must be prepared to face the consequences of that choice." A quiet tension settled between them, but before Callan could speak, Thalira entered the room. Her usual calm demeanor was now tinged with urgency. She gave him a small nod, signaling that it was time. "I think you've heard enough, Callan," Thalira said gently. "But know this, no matter what you decide, I will be here. I will help you. You are not alone in this." For the first time in days, Callan felt a small spark of hope. He turned to Varisa, his decision weighing heavily in his mind. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, his voice steady. "But I know one thing. I don't want to be used. I want to make my own choice." Varisa looked at him for a long moment, her piercing gaze never leaving his face. "Then make your choice, human. Choose carefully, for this decision will affect more than just your life. It will affect the future of the Velinari, and perhaps the future of your people as well." Callan took a deep breath. The weight of the situation was heavy, but somehow he knew he had to take the leap. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for something bigger than he could comprehend. "I choose to stay," he said, his voice steady. "But I will not be controlled. I will help, but only if I can do it on my terms." Thalira smiled, relief washing over her. "You've made a wise choice, Callan." Varisa said nothing at first, but after a long pause she nodded. "Very well. You will have your chance to prove yourself. But remember this. Trust is not freely given here. You will have to earn it." As they left the chamber, Callan felt a sense of clarity wash over him. It wasn't the end of his journey, but the beginning of a new chapter, one where he would have to find his own way in this strange world. He didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know what dangers or challenges lay ahead, but he did know one thing. He was no longer just a passenger. He was an active part of this story now. And no matter what, he was determined to control his own fate.